You're right here at Radio 1 AM 1000. You're sitting in with your brown skinned girls. I am Miss J.
I'm Lady D.
It's me, Angie Pooh.
And we are the Women of Vantage Point Ladies Edition coming to you every Wednesday and Friday, 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. We are sitting discussing the hottest adult topics. All right. Good evening. It's been a week. Everybody have a good weekend.
Great
Oh, yeah.
weekend.
Awesome.
Good.
Being a bum is a great weekend.
That's always a good thing.
That's
You
a
can
good one.
relax and recoup and get your mind together. So I'm all for that. What's going on, ladies, tonight? We got a hot topic, don't we? Because the brothers gave us a topic from last night that they discussed. So who wants to announce?
All right. So, the topic that we have is if your significant other says that they love you, but they're not in love with you. Is there a difference? What's your thoughts?
What's your thoughts? Good topic. All right, lady, are we ready to dive right in?
Okay.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Which one of you two want to go first? You know we got to go around the table.
You got it.
Well, I think for me, it's so crazy. And the question is if they tell you that, but I think that happens so often and they just don't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are sitting right now in relationships where they're with someone that they love and the person loves them, but they're not in love.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's actually a common occurrence, and I think that the issue is that it's usually just not discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of if they tell you that, then I mean, it's a no brainer. Why would you want to be with somebody that's not in love with you?
Hmm.
And there is a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love my dog. I'm not in love with my dog, but I love my dog. So I love I love
I say
pizza.
dog.
I love pizza, but I'm not in love with pizza. You know what I mean? So there's a big difference. It's a very obvious difference, and I think most people know when the person you're with is not really is no longer in love with you. It's like they're not really that into you. And I think we stick it out hoping that, something will change or we'll find a way to get that spark back. But there's a lot of people sitting in those in loveless relationships. Because you can't call them loveless relationships because there is some form of love, but it's not the relationship love.
Okay, now hold that thought because we're
Okay.
definitely going to come back around and ask. Let's find out what the root cause is. Okay, Miss Angie Pooh, go ahead and give your thoughts of what you
Okay.
think about it.
So the best part about this topic is that not only was I always told, not only do I love you, I'm in love with you.
Mm-hmm.
My partner says that often.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him after getting the topic for tonight, I said, what you think about this? So we had a nice little conversation. And overall, what I'm going to say to my people, I hope that you are not only loving someone, but you are in love with them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, let them go.
Mm-hmm.
Don't play those games.
Mm-hmm.
Because ain't nothing like being in a not so love relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, I do think it's a difference. I do think that you can love someone and not be in love with them. Because you can like someone and not like them. So, that's my opinion.
Okay, so I guess that leaves me left. Okay.
You're left.
And that's interesting, as you said that last part, because I don't think there's a difference. I don't think you can fall out of love with someone.
Okay.
I think you can stop liking them.
Mm-hmm.
You stop liking their ways because of things that may have led up to that. But I don't think you can break up with a person and still love them with all of your heart. But it has to I would probably say be a reason to lead up to that point. So I don't think you can do that. So that's odd that I disagree with the both of you.
Wow, that's a new one. It's a new one.
We've been pretty much agreeing on everything, but I don't think. I really think that once a person has had enough It just becomes that I have they have to love themselves.
Mhm.
I think the finding the love of themselves
Mhm.
um, wakes up a lot of people of where you've been probably, whatever the case may have led up. And that's what we're going to go back around with, because if someone falls out of love with you, what would make a person go to that extent?
Okay.
What would make a person say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you? Because I think as women, and if y'all don't mind, I'll start that part.
Mm.
I think as women, we love and we love hard.
Yes.
So when we go into the idea of a relationship, I think we are in it for the long haul.
Mhm.
I think we are very forgiving. I think
Too
we
forgiving.
forgive sometimes too forgiving, where we've forgiven so much and given so much of ourselves, we've let go a part of us because we're too busy trying to focus, and everybody's taking care of each other, but you making sure your house is becoming a home.
Yes.
I think once a woman has had enough of where she's okay, we've talked to you did this, we talk about it, and if it gets to a point where you keep talking and you keep talking, I think women get quiet. Well, let me
I
not speak
definitely
for,
get quiet.
because it's going to be a point where you're not going
quiet,
to talk about
quiet
it.
is definitely
Yes,
deadly over here.
okay, you did it again, I'm done with
Okay.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a little checkboard, and you just keep checking, and then when it gets to enough checks, unfortunately, it may explode to where, okay, I have had enough of this BS. You saying what you did, and we're to a point where a woman just says, I'm done with it. But I don't think, even if she is done, that love is not there. So I still think that you'll always love that person. But now, even if you go further into, especially if you've been together some time, but if you
Mhm.
go further into, that love turns to friendship,
Mhm.
but it has to be an earned friendship now. So
Mhm.
that's a different type of love that we can circle back to. But what would be your thoughts of being the root cause of someone saying that, Lady D?
But wait, I want to back up because I'm a little confused because you said you don't think that you can be in love with someone but not you can love someone but not be in love with them. You said you can't
No,
fall
no, no,
out
no.
of love.
Mm-mm.
I don't.
That's not
I
your style.
said you. I don't think you can fall out of love. That's what I said.
Okay, but
That
you
love.
agree that you can be with someone and no longer be in love with them but still
Mm-mm.
love them. No.
I think you. I think if you love someone, you're loving someone through the good and the bad. But when you've had enough of the BS, you have to love yourself enough to say, this isn't good for me. That doesn't mean I don't love that person.
But you're no longer in love with them.
That's not true.
Okay.
That you could still be in
I
love.
don't know.
You get what I'm saying?
I don't know, because like my
No.
exes, I love them.
But
I'm
I'm
not
not
in
in
love
love
with
with you.
them.
Yeah.
Like if something happened to them, I'd be like, oh man, because I have spent a long
And
portion
then
of
there's
my
that
life.
other side of it where it's not even like something happened or you're fed up or
Hmm.
something went wrong, but you just grow apart.
Yeah, you grow apart.
There's people who've been in relationships and it's like, you didn't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're still a great person, but I'm I guess even sometimes when you meet when you're young and you
You
grow
grow up.
together and
Hmm.
someone's not growing at the same level
Hmm.
and you grow apart, so it's like I love you but I'm no longer in love with you.
Okay, well, how
So
would you deal with someone telling you that?
No, you still got to answer
no,
the
yeah, no, we
question.
got to back up.
Mhm.
I'm
Okay.
sorry,
You
I
still
took
got to
it I took
answer
it in
that
another
question.
I took it in another direction. So how would the question was,
The question
how
was,
would you
what do you think would lead a person up to saying that from a woman's point of view? What would you think would lead up to a person saying,
oh, you getting into circumstances now.
no, it's just
That's circumstances.
because
It's
I
different
don't, you can't
circumstances.
tell me that. I don't know. I just don't believe that a person would say,
I'm
I
not in
don't,
love with
yeah,
you no more.
I
I
don't know.
mean,
Let me say this. I wouldn't say it.
no, but I
But people
think
do it
But
because,
see, I know
yeah,
people do it, but
people
tell
do.
me what would lead up to that after you've been together. Tell me whether you're married, whether you are
in a
dating,
relationship,
Mhm.
in a
dating,
relationship. Tell me what you think would lead up to a person saying that from a woman's point of view.
There's so many
It's so many
things.
scenarios.
So
Like
many
that's so
circumstances. You know, I am
yes.
the queen of circumstances. So let's take some circumstances into consideration. Um, Especially from a woman's point of view, I think there again we can talk about the fact that you're fed up, whether it be
Cheating,
cheating. Cheating is
finances,
one, finances is another.
mental.
You know, mental turmoil in the
Mhm.
relationship. There's a lot of times when you get into a relationship with someone and you meet their representative. So you're waiting for that person to make
like
good.
that.
Yeah, you meet their representative. I didn't meet you, I met your representative.
And you don't, you always got their representative until it's over, and then the real you come out. But go ahead.
So you're waiting for that person to make good on all these promises that their representative made, and you're realizing that they can't. So it's like, all right, I'm waiting, I'm looking, I'm checking, wishing and hoping and waiting and hoping, and then so again, that's another form of being fed up and just like, okay, I can't. I love you still, but you're not what you represented yourself to be. So yeah, I'm not in love with you because I was in love with your representative, and he never showed up. So I think those are some reasons. And then, like I said, sometimes people just grow apart. Sometimes you meet at a certain juncture in your life where you're similar and you have similar goals and similar wants and needs, and over time and with different life experiences, those things can change and cause you to no longer look at that person the way you did when you first got with them and when you first was smitten and fell in love. So there's a lot of circumstances. There's, you know, and those are deeper, and then you even have the superficial ones. And I think
we'll come back to that one. We'll come back to that one.
Did
Angie Pooh.
I get cut off?
Yes.
Did I get
because
cut
we're gonna
off?
come because as you start, I want to know what do you mean by
Miss
superficial.
J just cut me off. She cut me off at the knees,
right
y'all.
at the knee. I need to know what you think, Miss Angie Pooh.
Okay, personally, I never had anyone tell me they love me but not in love with me. I said that at the beginning. And then me also thinking about that, and then, you know, I hate the whole scenario where it be like, it's me, not you type of deal like that. I'm just my personality just keep me going, and like, I don't have the time or the effort to hear someone tell me that they're not in love with me, because I am an empath. I feel your energy. I can tell that you are not feeling me. I can feel the vibes. So that right there is like red alert, because I have that intuition where I'm in tune with myself. Yep. So as soon as I'm starting to get these intuitions, I'm like, yeah, something is happening here. And I have a tendency, I am a runaway. Runaway.com. That's me. Before you can get the opportunity to dump me, because I have never been dumped, I'm going to help you along the way.
All righty.
And I leave everything.
Has her track shoes laid
That's right.
up.
That's right.
I'm ready to go.
Ready
to go.
Okay. All right, Angie Pooh. All right. Before I go back to you, Lady D, regarding that part. Phone lines are open. 774-8255 or 774-TALK is the number.
Call us.
Call us and share your thoughts about tonight's topic. And tonight's topic is,
if your significant other told you that they love you, but they are no longer in love with you, is there a difference between it? You know, what do you think about that?
what are your thoughts? All right, 774-8255 or 774-TALK. All right, Miss Lady D, let's go back to that statement you said earlier when you're saying it's superficial. Tell me, what do you mean?
Well, I think, and I'm gonna say it from a woman's perspective, but I think it's something that happens more often with men. you get to a point where they look at their significant other, and that superficial look that you got when you first met them is no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
And so something tells you that you're not in love with them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that is just lust, but a lot of men think that's falling out of love.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go and they find somebody else, and then they realize that what they had was love, and now what they chased down and left, they left that love for lust.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that scenario happens,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that happens in more cases with men
Mm-hmm.
than it does with women. But
I don't
it
know.
happens with women too. You might get to a point where you feeling yourself, you're still looking and good, and your man is not in that great a shape,
Mm-hmm.
and you're getting that attention from other people, and you're thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. But again, that's not love, that's lust. But a lot of people equate them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people blow up their relationships because they think they're getting something better because it's in a better package.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's not love.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at it like it's underwear.
No.
You have to go underwear shopping.
Granny panties. So I stick with a good pair of granny panties any day. You
I
can
have
see thongs
to.
is uncomfortable. They
No.
might look cute, but they're not comfortable.
No.
You can't.
You
wear
have
them
to
all
shop
day. So
for your underwears often. You don't walk around with holy underwears.
Okay.
I wouldn't compare the person you with to holy underwears. I would compare them to granny panties. The granny panties are comfortable, they're reliable, they're sturdy.
No,
You
they're
got the same
not.
pair forever.
No.
The little pieces of thongs, them things are uncomfortable. You can't wear them for too long. And then if you got the lace ones, they get ripped up.
So, but going back to,
I'm saying superficial. Superficial.
It's
Superficial,
superficial
yes.
at the end of the day. But do you think because of that superficial thinking, men justify it to a point to where they can claim, oh, she's out of love with me for this reason. She doesn't love me because the bedroom may not be as good, or because I would think after, as I said before at the beginning, there's love. When you love that person, you take them through good, through bad.
Mm-hmm.
But if that person starts taking advantage of that love, I think that's where a point where women say, okay, I've had enough. The way you talk to me, you're not going to talk to me any type of way. You're not going to treat me any type of way. And if men are basing it on, for example, as you said, the package itself, or even in the bedroom, if men, if all you do is bang, 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 and you think that's romance, that's not romance. That's not, that's not showing that affection and care. So we'll get back to that, and I want to know your thoughts on that. But we do have our first caller for the evening. Caller, please share your thoughts.
Caller. Good evening.
Good. How are you?
Good. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay.
Okay, Quavo and Sweetie.
Okay.
This situation just happened.
Okay. So the question is, if we're in a relationship and the guy gives us a car, so I'm just going to take it from a woman. If the guy gave us a car and I said, I'm not in love with you, do I go on with the car? So Who wants to answer that first?
Well, it was a scenario like that happening between rappers, but they was fairly kind of young. They're in their 30s. I feel like nowadays in our upper 50s, you're not giving me anything and taking nothing back. I'm just sorry. Like,
But folks be trying to do that stuff.
yeah, well, I'm
Folks,
I'm just speaking to me. I'm speaking to me. You ain't giving me nothing
And getting it back.
and taking it back. That's just my personal opinion, but okay.
Alrighty now, we got a guest.
Hi.
No, it's okay, we got a guest. But go ahead and do yours, and before we introduce our guest.
So yeah, I think that yeah, at a certain point and stage in life, if you're giving someone something, you're giving them a gift.
Mhm.
That you don't just take it back because you're mad now, you're not in love anymore, or because it didn't go your way. But that happens again very frequently.
Okay.
It's like
all right.
I'm mad, I'm not playing with you no more, and I want my ball back.
Yeah. I think give it back, because if it's not in your name,
Mhm.
give it back.
Yeah, now that's different.
Because if you gotta brag about what you gave
Well,
me,
if they're
then
telling you
it's
they're gonna
like-
take it back, it's because they know it's not in your name, but they know it was a gift.
But at the end of the day, if you crying and screaming about
Give it back.
give stuff back.
Yeah.
And no matter what, you work it out to get your own, whether you start walking for a minute and work it out and you just do your thing, but get that crap back.
Once again, I leave everything, I run away.
We have a guest with us tonight.
Welcome,
Would our
welcome,
guest
welcome.
like to introduce herself? We got another queen in the house.
We're just hanging out. It's Alicia. We were
Welcome, Alicia. You have any thoughts on tonight's topic? And tonight's topic, and just to make sure you all know, your significant other says that they love you, but are not in love with you. Is there a difference?
I think there's a distinct difference.
Mm-hmm.
I think loving somebody, we could love each other, but being in love is a connection where two people have that. If that connection is no longer there, you can fall out of being in love.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between me having a kind spirit or a kind heart for you, where I could see you like, I'm concerned if something happens to you.
Mhm.
But that feeling of being in love is totally different, where your whole world revolves around every little thing.
Mm-hmm.
This person could be 5'6", and to the average person that's short, from your perspective, he's the tallest person on the planet.
Yeah.
Because
You
you're
are
in
so
love.
you're so in love, like every little thing they do is like the greatest thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a distinct difference. And when that person comes around, you're hyper, you're feeling butterflies, you're all over the place.
Mhm.
And if that is no longer there, there's a reason why you were at a level in your relationship where that connection existed. And the question is, what caused it to dwindle off? Because you have people that have met, they fell in love with each other, and it's 50 years later and they're still in love with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have some that within a year time or 2 years, they're out of love.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be any variety of time frame, but at the end of the day, you still have to look back and analyze that situation as to what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And as, Lady D said, she spoke about, sometimes you fall out of a situation. Sometimes people grow apart.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a couple that were high school sweethearts. They got married at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
But as both of them start to develop, one wants to pursue a career. One is content just being a stay-at-home dad.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, I'm just using that as an example,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, sometimes as people grow and as they learn and as they mature and as more information comes into their view as life moves on,
Mm-hmm.
they might change and they might no longer see that person that they woke up to butterflies every single day of their life. It's like, wait a minute, he's a nice guy, but why am I pulling away from him? So I think it's two completely distinct, different things.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, if Now, I'm not going to say you can't fall back in love. That's something else
We're
we
gonna
have
come
to
back to
analyze.
that. Don't
Oh.
answer that yet. We're gonna come back to that.
Rekindle.
But before we go on break, I want you to answer our caller's question.
Yes.
If you're in a relationship, and you're the female, and you told your guy,
Hmm.
I love you, but I'm not in love with you, and you're driving his car, or he gave you a car, and you leave, are you giving the car back?
Well,
or do
first
you
of
keep
all, it would make a difference if it's his car and I'm driving it.
Mhm.
I clearly know it's not mine, and if
Yeah.
I'm leaving the relationship, I'm leaving
There you go.
the
Yeah.
car. It's not my car.
There you go.
Deuces.
But if it's a situation where he gave it to me as a gift
Mhm.
and he's asking for it back, that's a sign of control.
Mm.
That's a whole nother issue
Mhm.
where he's trying to use sometimes finances, materialistic things
Mhm.
to try to control you, to draw you back into the relationship.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, you might love me, but if you leave, look at what you're going to be giving up.
Mhm.
And if you don't want me, you don't get access to all of these other things.
Mhm.
So I think they're two distinctly different things depending on what the scenario is. If it's a gift, that's a control thing.
Mhm.
If he lets you drive his car, that's your car. Have a nice day. I will figure it out.
All right, we agree on that, 2 and 2. All right, we got to take our first break for tonight. We will be back right here on Radio 1 AM 1000 Vantage Point, Ladies Edition. Don't go anywhere. Grass, I don't love you no more.
No more.
All right, Radio 1 AM 1000. You're sitting in with the queens in the queendom. Right here, Vantage Point Ladies Edition. We're here every Wednesday and Friday, 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. talking about some adult conversation. You're sitting in with Miss J.
Lady D.
Alicia.
It's me, Angie Pooh.
All right, and tonight's topic our brothers gave us from last night, men's edition of Vantage Point. Your significant other says that they love you, but not in love with you. Is there a difference? What are your thoughts? And before we start off again on the topics, we will let you know that the phone lines are open. It's 340-774-8255 or 774.
Talk.
All right. Right on time, Lady D, this time. All right. And of course, don't forget, if you want to hear us in the stateside and tell your friends and all of that, we are streaming live radio at, I'm sorry, you want to tell them, Alicia?
Radio1000.net.
There we go, radio1000.net. When you get in there, push the little blue radio, and guess what? You are connected right to us. So don't forget to stream. Make sure you tell your friends and tell them to tune in right now. So going back to our topic, ladies, as we discussed, and our caller gave us a great question as well. If it's a gift, it's a gift. If
Make
it's,
sure he put it in your name.
I wouldn't even do that, because it may not be worth it being put in your name, because it seems like if he's going to take it back like that, it's like dangling cheese to a little
Make
mouse.
sure he put it in your name before he fall out of love.
I can't wait. So we discussed the fact that, yes, 3 of them agreed that you can fall out of love, correct? Am I correct?
Yeah,
While
I agree.
I still say, no, you can't fall out of love. You just wake up and be like, enough is enough. You can still be in love with someone and just had enough of the BS. So,
Well, I think you're talking about two different things. I could still be in love with someone and no longer want to be with them because some of the things that they're doing that could separate me and realize that I love myself more. But I think you are capable of falling out of love with someone.
Okay.
That's something that can be done.
Okay.
So I think what you're talking about is more, you could still be in love, but you don't want to be with the person anymore. That's two different things from wanting to from falling out of love with them.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be there yet.
Mm-hmm.
That might take you another 10 years. It might take you another 5 years to fall out of love.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean you want to stay in the relationship, because it might not be conducive for your mental health, your mental
That's
wellness. It might not be conducive for your growth. It could be a whole slew of things. But when you walk away, you might still be in love.
That's what I said.
So it's I think it's two different topics.
I don't, but that's why we have all these views. Isn't that wonderful? I still stand by what I said. I don't think you can fall if you love that person. And as you said, Alicia,
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody in here has exes?
Me.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
why
Yeah.
everything you said, I just
It's
said.
all of you. I heard you.
Mhm.
Everybody here is every single one of you still in love with your ex?
I love them. I love my
So
exes.
that's the point. You could love your exes.
Mhm.
I mean, you could still be friends with
Yeah.
some of them,
Homies.
but you're no longer in love with them. So you're capable of falling out of
That's
love
right.
with people. Either you won't be with somebody else and in love with a whole new person.
That's right.
So the capability to fall out of love is there, but understanding your own self-worth and understanding how you
Mhm.
feel and
Tell it.
understanding
Mm-hmm.
when you recognize your value and say, I can't tolerate something in a relationship
Mhm.
anymore,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to fall out of love to love you. And I think that's where this little demarcation of what you're saying, why I'm not fully on board with what you're saying.
And that's why we
And-
have different opinions.
Now, be
So
mindful.
what you
Alicia,
say?
I tried it
Right,
already.
I
I
don't care
tried.
what
I
y'all
tried
say.
that explanation, and I got shut down. So I let it go.
So that's why
Be-
we have our
Be
views.
mindful that
got shut
people.
down.
We're four different women.
So
with
you
four
can't,
different
so you're
views.
basically saying every single person you've dated that you fell in love with, you're still in love with them.
Nope, I'm not saying that.
But you're saying you can't fall out. So have you ever been in love before
Mm-hmm.
on multiple occasions?
Yes.
At the stage you're in right now, are you still in love with those people?
I love them as friends.
And I get that. We all said some of us love our
Yeah, but
exes.
being in
But
love
are
with
you in
them-
love with those people from the past?
No.
So
So what happened?
you fall out of
But
love.
it fell up to a situation.
We're discussing your opinion.
My
not
opinion. No,
you
we're not
personally.
discussing my opinion because that was my opinion.
Okay.
So moving on to the next part of the topic.
Is there a difference?
Is there a difference?
Well, can
And
I
we
just
said
say
that
this?
part.
Can I just tell you this? Not all people fall in love at the same time, and not
True.
all people fall out of love at the same
Mhm.
time.
True.
Mhm.
Everybody is on their own frequency.
Mhm.
So, I might love you today, but tomorrow something may happen. And that's all I wanted to say.
And
But thank you, Angie. Boo.
Yes.
you also have relationships where, like she referenced, that people might not fall in love at the same time.
Mhm.
You might have people that connect together,
Mhm.
and one might fall way fast with me.
Mhm.
And people don't understand that we're all different human beings.
Yes.
We all develop our own life experiences, causes us to get to different stages in life at
That's
different
right.
times.
That's right.
So I think, unfortunately, for some people, it opens up doors of for issues and resentment, because I'm giving, I'm loving you,
That's
I'm
right.
putting so much into the relationship, I'm texting you, I'm calling you, I'm
Mhm,
checking on you,
mhm.
I'm making sure you're okay, but you can't even pick up the phone to check on me just
Mhm.
once during the day.
Okay, we'll get back to that in one moment. We have a caller on the air, on the line.
Caller.
You are live on the air. Please share your thoughts. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Carla, you're going in and out, so you're gonna have to start a little bit over or move just a little somewhere. We hear you much better.
Could be a very dangerous situation for either party.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't take breaking up very lightly.
Mm-hmm.
So emphasize on your program now. So men and women, even though you understand a mother love or I don't love you, let them know violence is never the answer. Though.
Mm-hmm.
And you know a lot of people lose their lives in situations when emotion and all of that. So
You're
emphasize
at,
on your program tonight. And even though the reality of it, we may not be together, let them know that violence is never the answer as a way out.
oh
Definitely.
yes, absolutely. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Great questions and great statement. We always get some good feedback from that caller all the time. So we
Yeah, that's
appreciate it.
Mr.
And
Mister.
violence is never a way to solve anything. Um,
Well, unfortunately, we live in a society where you have to recognize, depending on how some men or women raised, they have a different perception of relationships.
Yeah.
mhm.
Some people see relationships as ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Some people see relationships as a need to connect. And it depends on the person.
Mhm.
Where you tend to get those violent situations is where people believe that if I say I am committed to you, I own you.
Mhm.
And how dare you attempt to walk away from me
Mhm.
when you belong to me?
Mhm.
And that opens a lot of doors. And unfortunately, people have lost their lives because people might have fallen out of love
Mhm.
and decided they wanted to move on when that other person feels that their connection to them is so strong and a sense of ownership exists that it's like you can't go anywhere. And some people are willing not only to take another person's life, but even their own.
Mhm.
And I don't subscribe to stuff like that. And I think that's where we have to focus on healthy relationships in the first place,
Mhm.
that you know the person you're getting involved with.
Yes. Make sure you
That's
equally
important.
yoke.
You equally yoked, but
Mhm.
also you have some people, both female and male, sometimes males especially, that overdo. If you knock a head off a dresser, you done mashed up their stuff. If you kick their shoe across the room, oh my God, you smashed up my stuff, and they're telling everybody you're violent. And I just think that we have on both ends where in some instance you have to know your partner.
Yes.
And if they are doing either one, either going through one extreme of being violent or one extreme of trying to make you out to be something you're not, that's something else that needs to be looked at as well. So here's my next question for the three of you. Do you think that it is used as an excuse when somebody says that?
Says what?
To break up?
Mm-hmm. When they tell you I'm in love, I love you, but I'm not in love with you.
Oh yeah,
Do you
that's
wait?
the
But do you think it's to break up because of the fact they know the other person has had enough and they're ready to go, or they're breaking up trying to be the first?
Well, it's
I-
all kinds of
I
scenarios.
think it
in that.
depends.
Yeah.
What?
It depends.
Hold on. Who's right?
No, I'm. You know me. I'm queen scenario. So there's like tons of scenarios. It could be
Yeah.
any one of them or all of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that people telling you that I love you, but I'm not in love with you. That is an easy letdown.
Mm-hmm.
That's the easiest way to kind of cordially part ways and let someone know that I don't want to fight, but I don't want to be with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's
You
it's
don't
an
want to
easy,
discuss it. You don't
easy
wanna,
cop out.
Oh, cop
Because
out.
you don't have to explain why I can't explain why I'm not in love with you no more. I just don't love you. I mean, I don't want to be with you anymore. I love you, but I'm not in love with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Once again, at this age, I feel like we should be able to have a discussion
Mm-hmm.
and keep it 100% real with one another and say, hey, this is just not working.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love me.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't about he loving and you want to break up and all that. Look, you want to go? Go.
Okay. All right.
I don't think it's an excuse.
Mhm.
I think there's legitimate reasons why people could look you in your face and tell you, I'm no longer in love with you.
Mm-hmm.
And, it could be for a variety of things. It could
Mhm.
be people fighting over children.
Mm-hmm.
Something as simple as me connecting with you and having a child with you
Mm-hmm.
and me raising that child with you. And we might have two different parenting styles where I'm looking to raise my child a particular way because I want them to be and you're raising it totally different.
Mm-hmm.
My entire feeling towards you might change and alter just because of that one situation of dealing with a child.
Mm-hmm.
It could be finances. I could be the saver and you could be the spender.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, if I'm always broke, feeling trying to pay the rent, I don't really like you anymore. I could fall out of love with you because I might have liked that sweet person you were and we were doing it together. But at some point, when things become repetitious and they're no longer conducive to assisting you with your growth and maybe being a better human being, it's a lot of things that can cause people to fall out of
That's
love.
right.
And you've heard people say things like, I've fallen out of love because I don't like to see how we choose. Like,
But that's a thing,
he
though.
chews with
Yeah,
his mouth
that's a
open,
thing.
and I'm sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves the lid up all the time, and I keep
We don't
falling
share
in.
bathrooms.
And I'm giving you, if you're with somebody for so long, and these little things that you didn't mind at the beginning, it was like, look at how cute he chews his food. And you would sit there, and then all of a sudden it's 5 years later, and he's like, yum, 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 yum. And you're trying to look at the fork like, should I just...
No violence.
We just
No
talked about
I'm
violence.
just saying, some people in their mind.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like, there's things that trigger these things.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, when your mind is seeing these things from 10 years before to now,
Yeah.
Nothing
clearly things
Yeah.
have changed.
Mhm.
That's
And
right.
you can fall out of love.
That's
Mhm.
right.
So I don't think that people use it as an excuse. I could see for some people, like you said, who don't want to talk about it, will say,
Yeah.
listen, I don't love you anymore. But I think I agree it's 100% cop out because it's not fair to leave that other person
It's
questioning
Mhm.
for maybe the
What
next
I
10
do?
years. What did I do
What I do
wrong?
wrong.
What's
without
wrong with
even-
me?
Exactly. And then they might never be able to get into another relationship
Mhm.
feeling secure with who they are because the previous one,
never
they
got
just
any
said
closure.
they didn't get closure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So sometimes when you're going to pull these cards about I'm not in love with you, at least be responsible enough if you still love the person
Mhm.
to give them an explanation.
There you go. There you go. Good point. Good point. Now, next question. Next
Wait, you didn't answer that.
Oh,
You got to answer
she's
that.
in here like she have us here on a panel.
Exactly.
And she the only one
But
that
you
answering
answered.
that.
Hello. What was it? You asked it.
I was so into the comments.
And the cop out, if he tell you, look, hey, baby, I ain't in love with you no more.
Well, see, yeah, I would think it's a cop out. I agree with you 100%. I
Okay.
do believe that is a cop out, and that's a weak way because I am a communicator.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere along the lines, the communication has broken, and instead of you wanting to talk about it, you're taking the easy way out, as
Mhm.
Lady D said. So I agree with you all 100%.
Woo,
on
woo,
that,
woo,
all right? So now, here's the next one. When you were giving examples, and you said like a simple thing, the way he chews.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a lot of the cop-outs are from the fact that they're superficial cop-outs, or it's legitimate from a woman's point of view? Do you think that if a man says it, that it's from a superficial point of view, or is it because, or if a woman says it to a man, is it because she's had enough, or she's using that as her excuse as well? Or either way, the man could have had enough. So
Well, I will happily answer. I think it's up to the individual and the individual relationship. I can't blanket that
Mhm.
over everybody
Mhm.
because it could be vice versa.
Yeah.
It could be a situation where it's superficial for a man. A lot of times, as you talk about a man going through a midlife crisis.
Mm-hmm.
He might have married a woman, she had 5 kids, she put on weight. All of a sudden, that much slimmer young lady or the secretary in the office with the perky boobs and everything, and all of a sudden, he nitpicks and finds everything wrong with his
Everything
wife.
wrong.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't look the same, but you used to exercise. Why don't you fix up your hair?
Mhm.
And it's every little thing, and like, oh, look at what we went to dinner and she spent $50 on this. Maybe she should have paid to go to the gym. And it's all these little things that's going to be running through their head a lot of times. And like you said, the grass is green on the other side for some people. And it could be in reverse the same way for a woman, where she's looking at those little superficial things. For some women, I'll give an example: education. She married a guy. He's a gardener, and he was happy and content being a gardener. But she continued to go to school while he was supporting her.
Yes.
All of a sudden, she's a doctor. She went all the way, got her PhD, Dr. So-and-so. Now he's not good enough because he's still he's a gardener. And all of a sudden, she's looking down at the man that worked his behind off gardening to make sure she went to school. So I'm saying, I think for people, some people start looking at superficial things depending on what stage of life they're in.
Yeah.
But then some of them are ultimately legitimate ones where I might fall out of love with you because you don't love me enough. You don't give me enough of what I need. If I'm the one always loving you, and I'm the one that's always giving, I'm the one that's always working my behind off to plan dates. I'm the one that's always remembering every anniversary. I'm the one that's always remembering all the things that happen in our life, and you're just there as a bystander.
Tell it.
I'm just giving examples.
Tell it.
I've witnessed a lot of these things, and I mean, when you have so many girlfriends having meltdowns all the time, I'm an encyclopedia for issues.
Okay.
So I'm saying, at some point, people just are willing to let go and say, I deserve more. I deserve someone that's going to reciprocate that love towards me. And exactly. So, I can honestly say some can be superficial and some could be legitimate. So I see it from both perspectives. It's depending on that specific relationship.
Okay.
Anybody want to piggyback?
Well, I me again. It's all about scenarios. So those are a lot of scenarios. It could go either way, like Alicia said. And for me, I'm an avid watcher of Ratchet TV. So,
We are.
yeah, I love me some Ratchet TV.
Yes.
But what I'm finding too, and I mentioned that just because, another scenario is where you have people that get into these relationships for, and I don't want to say superficial, because they may have got together and figured like, hey, this is a good fit. And then so you've done your whole celebrity thing, you've done your whole, we had this business together, we did this together. Now you're looking for love from this person, and you're looking at them and you're like, okay, we've been together, we did the whole reality TV, we did this and we did that, and you're realizing that the things that you're looking for in a relationship are not there, but that superficial stuff was perfect. It looked good. It looked good on TV. It looked good on paper, and not even just reality TV. You have people that get together because they look good together on paper. They look good together when at social gatherings, but then behind closed doors, it doesn't work. And so you're looking for something that was never there. So again, it's like, I'm in love with your image. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. So it's there's so many possible scenarios, and it's, again, digging a little deeper when you get with someone, and then working a little harder to make sure that you keep things flowing and keep things fresh.
That's right.
And you know who you're with. So
Okay. You want to add on, Angie?
I'm with both of you guys. I'm just sit here and say, okay, I agree.
Okay.
But I'm the same person that I like blue this month. Next month I might like green. I might like yellow. So, I go with the flow. I like less complicated junk in my life. I mean, I'm into, if you love me, I love you. Let's make this do what it got to do. And if you don't love me, okay, let's do what this got to do and let's figure it out. That's, I don't want the chaos. All my life I had to fight.
Did you just go Celie? Did she just do Celie? Okay.
Did the color purple.
All right, you all. We gotta get out of here to take our next break. So, Radio 1 AM 1000 Vantage Point Ladies Edition. You're sitting in with the queens and the queendom and tonight's topic. But don't worry, we'll be right back right after these little breaks. Okay? All right, don't go anywhere. Man, no, I am not. Karen White,
You in here?
1988. Yes, it fits right in with tonight's discussion. Our brothers gave us the topic. Your significant other says that they love you, but not in love with you. Is there a difference? What are your thoughts? Before again, our lines are open 774-8255 or 774
Talk.
and that's area code 340. And also, don't forget that we are streaming live.
Streaming
live at
Radio1000.net.
Radio 1000.
Come and check us out.
If you make sure when you get on the page, push the little blue button and you're right in listening in with us. So we have more. Karen White just said, I'm not your superwoman or not your Superman if it's any other way. But
In other words,
Your person.
I ain't in love with you no more.
yeah. But here's my question. When you say that and you're being that superwoman or that Superman, but from a woman's point of view, you're being that superwoman regardless of what's going on. You're doing as Angie say, the cooking and the cleaning and
The cooking and the cleaning,
But, and that said to you, what do you think the reaction of the other person who did not expect it?
Okay, so you're saying in the case of that scenario,
Mhm.
when you're fed up,
Mm-hmm.
that fed up scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the person doesn't expect you to tell them, look, I'm not in love with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, but I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying what should be the
What would be the reaction?
reaction of the other person?
Mhm.
That's when they it can be a combination of
Mhm.
reaction. I think
Mhm.
it starts off by, just first of all, not acceptance, denial. A lot of them don't ever think that you're gonna get up one day and finally decide that I'm not dealing with this anymore.
Mhm.
And then I think it goes through a series of responses, and then afterwards, it takes a while for them to accept it. But most of the times in situations like that other person never sees it coming
Mm-hmm.
because they're just used to you taking and taking and taking and not ever thinking that you're going to finally get fed up with their behavior, or else they would change.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could be fed up with your insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
Because, a lot of indecisiveness starts a lot of conflict in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I think the statement can be utilized as a tool just to jolt a person into coming to reality.
okay.
Not necessarily that the person actually fell out of love with them. I've seen people just toss that out just to scare them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not true. I'm still in love with you, but I'm going to tell you I'm not so you could get your crap together.
Mm-hmm.
So I've witnessed it from that perspective, and I also seen it where they have been fed up, and this is the final straw for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mustered up enough courage to tell you I'm no longer in love with you.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, it's me telling you it's not a situation where whether it was to trigger you to action, not because I want to leave, because I could still be in love with you or not. For some people, it's a door opener to say, this is your chance to fix it or else.
Yeah.
This might be the outcome. Like, I'm telling you I have fallen out of love with you So what are we going to do
Mhm.
in order to potentially resolve that? Yes, I love you. Maybe I still want to be with you. I'm going to say maybe, because if I'm out of it, I don't know what the outcome is, because if you're not going to bring what I feel I need to the table, I might not be motivated enough to even want to do anything to rekindle the situation.
Now, see, where I stand at right now, that whole yes, no, and maybe, like we're in high school,
Mhm.
and you're going to give me 3 strikes and I'm out, and you got to clean up yourself, and I'm going to just test you to see if you do. Yeah, I have zero tolerance for any of that. Like,
and there are some people in the world that do have zero tolerance for it, but there are some people that are willing to go that route.
Yeah.
So I think
that's games, though. You don't think that's games?
Of course it's game. It's a game of love. Sometimes you play
Yeah.
Russian roulette.
Sometimes you win,
So-
sometimes you
Love don't let it no more.
Yeah, all right. We have a call. We'll come back to that.
Caller,
But
caller.
before we say to our caller, you brought up a good point, and I just lost it that quick
I'm
when you were
sorry.
saying you were when you're going back. But I'll think of it after the caller. Caller, you are live on the air. Please share your thoughts. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now we will answer that, but I want to do one question right before that that will lead right into your question. Okay. So,
Thanks, caller.
thank you, caller. I love his questions. He always has good ones.
Mhm.
But we're gonna answer a question right before that. Now you're saying whatever you said, but do you think once that communication is open from a woman's standpoint, when you say, okay, I'm going to say this and hopes that you get yourself together, do you think our men are getting it when we're saying we're opening the lines of communication? Before we go to a counselor, do you think you should be talking to each other? I mean, a counselor, not your buddy, not a friend down the street, a counselor. But before you get that, do you think you should be talking to each other?
Men don't listen. Men are
Yeah.
men see it. It's what they see. And another thing is, before we go paying some money for somebody to give a third party to give their opinion about us that they don't really know us, but they only spending an hour with us and they gonna give us all of this info. Can we get on our knees and pray?
Okay. Okay. What are you
That's all.
Okay.
That's all I wanna.
Do it. I want your answers. Go ahead. Between the two of you.
Wait. I got you stunned.
No, you don't. I was letting the Lady D go ahead.
Okay, come on, lady. Tell me.
Yeah, you kind of just threw me.
Okay. I don't think it's a situation of being thrown off. I think that if you have connected to a person and you have been intimate, you have attempted to build a life together, the least you can do is have a conversation.
That's right.
So for me, I don't have a problem with counseling. I think sometimes when two people have reached a level in a relationship where there might be butting heads, there's nothing wrong with having a professional third party
Okay.
that might not know both sides, because a lot of times what happens, that's where we get the friends and the family involved, and sometimes it might cause more damage to the relationship than what's good. You might go vent to your sister and your sister starts attacking your dude, and then all of a sudden it's reached another level. Your dude might go complain to his mom, and your mom is like, I told you stay away from that chick, she no good for you. So sometimes bringing in people that know you and they have a vested personally in you, they might not see it from the perspective of the other person. So I think initially if you do love each other, and even though you might have fallen in love, but you see hope for something, I think you guys should have a conversation and maybe have that discussion about having a third party, seeing it from both sides, because sometimes when that happens, that person doesn't have anything vested really, and they could see things from both sides of you and
Bias.
assist you guys with coming up with solutions that could potentially save your relationship in the end. So I don't see anything, but I will say this: you might got problems getting men to counselor.
There you go. That's we're coming back to that. Go ahead.
Well, you know, I've always been an avid supporter of counseling. I think that would save a lot of problems that we have in our communities, because when you talk to your friends, first of all, your business is not out in the street if you go to a counselor. You're paying someone to listen to you
and keep their mouth shut.
and to keep their mouth shut. So I always feel like counseling is something that can always help. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's not going to hurt you, because once you tell that wrong friend, or he tells that wrong cousin, family, somebody, your business is out in the street and you can't pull it back. That's one.
Okay.
Two, it all depends on the willingness of both parties. You know, like Alicia said, sometimes it's not really a option to get some men to go to counseling. And what I've seen so often is, you say, you know, maybe we could go to counseling, and then it never happens. But then when you split and part ways, like, well, can't we go to counseling? No, it's too late. You're supposed to go when I suggested it. So it's the willingness of the parties, and I frequently see what I said earlier, where you always have that one half that just doesn't think that you're going to ever pull the plug on the relationship. And when you do, then they become willing to do anything to keep you or get you back. But, you know, when they're in the relationship, they don't value it and appreciate it. And to me, that's where you see that difference between loving someone and being in love with them. If you're in love with them, then you do whatever it takes to make sure that you're not just in a relationship, but you're in a productive and happy relationship. You see so many people that stay together in these situations, because I call them situations, because some of them are not relationships. You know, you're cohabitating, you're living together. Some of them are married, you sleep in separate bedrooms, but you're just there in your situation, but you're not truly in love with the person you're with. And that's why I say a lot of times, like, our question tonight is, what do you do? How do you feel if the person tells you that? But I think a lot of people right now are sitting in these situations, and they know that there's there's a level of love that's not there, and they're just hanging on and sitting there like, you know, I don't have anything else to do.
Okay, so as I answer, I'm going to say this. One thing I say, the first people that have to speak is to each other.
That's right.
A lot of times that the problem comes because one person wants to communicate and one person wants to have his own view of, like, I don't want to talk about it. We just go, but it continues to get swept under the rug. And when it's not discussed, that's when women start saying, I've had enough of this, because you're not going to discuss it. It's not going to change. But when you're bringing in a third party, I think when you made a good point, getting men to go, I think because men will not go to someone who will make them see themselves. And I think that's part of the problem where men will not come in, because they don't want to be told they're wrong. If I go to my boy and I tell him this about her, he don't know, because he just go talk to me. So he's going to bring, you know, we're going to be on the same page, and he's going to tell me how great of a guy I am, or my mom's going to tell me how wonderful I am and how bad this person is, because they're going to agree with me, instead of going to that professional that's going to keep your business to themselves, that's not going to call that other person and be like, oh yeah, well, you doing this and doing that, because that's going to bring even more stress. So I think that's why men won't go, because you don't want to see your true self. Because if a person is willing to go to a counselor and say, and lay it out on the line, because you have to hear what everybody's wrong, not just them. You got to hear your part too. And I don't think most men are ready to do that.
Gonna stake up the whole room.
I think there's a lot of individuals, period, whether it be men or women, who I mean, and that's the other part about it. You
Mhm.
have to be willing to really sit down and hear and understand where that other party's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you, again, that's a part of being in love with someone.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in love with them, then you're truly, genuinely concerned about what concerns them. So if you're at that stage in your relationship where you can't see past your own concept of what's happening,
Mhm.
and no matter
Mhm.
what that person says to you, in my mind it's this,
Mm-hmm.
then you know you love you more than you do them, because you
Mhm.
can't even see past yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
So-
once we get to the part where you tell me that you're not in love with me anymore, all bets off.
Yeah, but go ahead.
You didn't think about saving us before you said those words.
Finish your thought. Okay, go ahead. I wanted her to finish her thought, so that was the thing. So go ahead, Angie.
Yeah, so basically, I feel like all bets are off once you say those words. When you tell me you're not in love with me anymore, I mean, now I'm sitting here like, where do we go after this?
Yeah, once you say the words, I think that's like a knife that you can't take out. But again, my fear is, I think it's better when someone can actually say it. My fear is that all these relationships where people are sitting around and you're in these loveless situations and you're not saying nothing.
Well, there's a lot of people in the world that are currently in situationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate for those individuals, but you're also going to find some that don't mind being in situationships because of the convenience.
That's
True.
right. That's
That is
right.
very true.
So I don't mind if he doesn't love me. Once I have a roof over my head and people think my life is great and I got a fancy car
yes.
and I'm okay with it. You know, I don't care if my wife doesn't love me because people think she's beautiful and she's a trophy wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Or in peace.
there's a lot of people are okay with situationships.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they totally forget that the reason why for a lot of them they connected was for love, was to know that there's somebody else in this world that I could come home to that thinks highly of me, that's happy to see me at the end of the day, that just is so goo goo gaga over every little thing I do, that puts a smile on my face, that makes me want to push through life knowing I have somebody else by my side, my own personal Bonnie, my own personal Clyde. That's what a lot of people just want. But when you get to the point that a relationship is now dwindled down into a situationship and you have accepted it and you're so content to be there, you know, that's when you might have to step back and say, what am I worth? What do I want?
Yeah.
What do I need out of this? And what do I have to do? Do I have to fight to rekindle what I might have had at the beginning? Or do I say, you know what? I'm too old. Some people like, what? I'm 60 years old. Nobody's going to want me. I'm 70. Nobody's going to want me. But they're going to be, there's some of them are just going to settle for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have to start to realize that recognizing who we are as people and knowing what we deserve and what we want out of life. You know, a lot of times I talk extensively because, yeah, I can run my mouth for hours. But a lot of things that drive me has to do with my parents. And I'm just saying that because when you have parents that died at 41 and 46 and didn't fully get to experience a lot in life, you realize like you have no clue when your life is going to end. But then, so why are you going to torture yourself just sitting there being connected to someone that doesn't give two rats behind about you, and then tomorrow you die?
That's
and then
right.
what?
That's
Yeah.
right.
You know, and so
But a lot of it is fear. People are afraid. They're afraid to take that leap. They're afraid to go
how do we
out
teach
and-
people to avoid that fear? How do we teach people to love themselves enough to want better for themselves?
Just do it. Just
Over
do
time,
it.
It's hard.
Nike.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
it's hard.
So
It's hard.
well then we have to ask the question: how are we raising our children?
Yeah.
Because
To
they
live
end
in
up
fear.
to turn into these adults that are
To live in
fearful.
fear. And I hate to turn it into a black and white thing, but I think African American or Caribbean American, I think we put so much stock in certain things that we live in fear of just having fun and enjoying your life and putting the value on just enjoyment. Everything is like, you have to be the best at school, you have to be better than everybody at work, there's so much pressure to elevate yourself that you don't ever sit back and think, well, hey, I can just enjoy my life.
Just enjoy life.
Yeah, and find someone that loves me for me, not someone that society will accept or my parents will accept, or there's a lot of pressure on us to quote unquote live up to certain standards.
And when we touched a little bit earlier on relationships and dealing with men who might not want to go to counseling, every female I've ever come across wants to go to counseling. They are always the one that's willing. But in speaking to them, it's always their other half is giving them the pushback.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wonder why that is the case. And as you try to explain from your perspective, it boils down for me from what I've seen that we have a perception that men can't show their emotions. And I think a lot of times when you put someone in front of a counselor who could actually see through the facade, like you said, it might break them down and they can't afford to be vulnerable, especially in front of a stranger. I don't know you.
Right.
And and I think for some people that might be a deterrent because they might be forced to actually see themselves for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a caller on the line. Caller.
Caller,
please
caller.
Share your thoughts.
Oh, welcome back.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we got it. You
Got
can emotionally, spiritually, but
Not
not
physically.
physically. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm. Oh, okay. All right. We'll talk about. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go
Thank you
ahead.
for the question.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, for me, there's no such thing as being in love with someone physically. You might not be attracted to them physically, but once you're in love with them, that physical attraction, it comes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what love, that's what being in love is.
Mm-hmm.
I've known someone that when you first look up them off the back, you would never have thought twice about them, but over time, once you become in love with them, you don't see those things anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Alicia was saying, like if you're in love with someone, you don't notice that they don't leave they don't put the toilet seat down, that they chew with their mouth open, that they fall asleep and snore through their ears. I don't know. But when you start noticing those little things and those nitpicking, you're not in love with them. And there's no such thing as physical love. That's attraction. And if you're in love with someone, you become attracted to them.
I have to agree with Lady D along the lines that it's an attraction situation. If you love the person and you're in love with the person, if it's a physical thing for them, that's where you step in as their partner and say, you know what, honey, what can we do to help you to be more physically fit? I love you enough. I want you to be around for a long time. Hey, let's go take a walk down. We could do this together. That's where you step in. Instead of becoming critical, you figure out how to support and be a cheerleader. Because if you're genuinely in love, your love will cause you to be their support and say, and if you love someone and they love you, you shouldn't be afraid to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people run around and say, I love, I'm in love with you. And they're so frightened to open their mouth and say something that they're so worried, like, okay, if I tell my partner this, they mightn't love me anymore. If I tell my partner this, they might hate me. So my point is, maybe you're not really in love. Maybe they're not in love with you, but you're living in a fantasy world where you believe love is, just living on the facade or living outside of a facade of what love really is. But you don't have that level of intimacy. You don't have that level of connection. Because if you can't even tell your companion something about them passing gas and you're not happy about it, like, listen, could you step outside? Whatever. I could deal with it all the time, but what you ate tonight ain't working for me.
Okay.
But you understand what I'm saying? But there's some people would be terrified to even have that conversation. And I'm just using that as an example. And I'm saying, if you're not to that level of intimacy, but somehow you can figure out how to sleep with them and procreate, but you can't have simple conversations, maybe that level of what you consider in love is not really there. That's my thought process on it.
Okay, all right. Angie Pooh, you want to add anything?
I feel like I'm on the island by myself tonight. So, Carla, I'm going to answer your question. I am physically, mentally, and spiritually in love with my husband. I was watching my husband pray the other day, and it just marshmallows. I was just like in awe. I was just in love. Like, I'm in love with him. Like, when he cleaned up. But today is Wednesday, so I don't like him, but I do love him.
Okay, so the question is, if you not physically, if a person wasn't physically, how would you suggest they get around that part? What do they do in that case?
I mean, I'm on my second marriage, so that first marriage, I wasn't physically nothing. I didn't like him. I was just like, what am I doing here type of deal. But I think this time I took time out to find out who I am. I did the work for me. And when I did the work, it helped me along the way with my partner. Now today. Not saying we don't go through our stuff, but I really, really am focused on what we got to do. Because life is so short. I don't really want, he's older than me, so I got to be careful with the dumb stuff I bring to the table and things like that. So like I said, I personally think that if you win it, be in it to win it. If you're not, get to going.
Okay. I think on the physical part, if you're mentally and spiritually are in love with a person, but not physically, I think even with that, it's depending on what it is. We talk about, for example, we talk about you can tell that person to get in shape.
Yeah.
You can have that conversation with them about that. But when you're in love, you're taking that person for whatever they have. When you met them, they weren't in shape, so you didn't get that. Instead of that 6-pack, you had that 14 barrel, and it's kind of like what?
But what if it was a situation where when you did meet them, they were in shape? They might. And that's what drew you to them in the first place.
But then again, that's physically focused. If you're focusing on what that person, but what have they been through to make them gain weight? Have they had your children? That causes weight gain. Are they sitting at home where they're taking care of you, dealing with your BS, helping you get your business, helping you with your stuff that you're
helping
doing?
you get your degrees.
Get your degrees.
And if you're still spiritually and mentally
spiritually and
connected to them,
to them,
that's when you do the work and you help them out.
And you be a support to them.
And you
Yeah.
continue to be a support. But at the same time, if you're not physically, it could be whether it's physical. Maybe he meant physically as in body wise. Maybe he meant physically as in sexual wise. But remember, we had that conversation.
Yeah.
Is sex everything in a relationship? And again, I stand by my queens. When we love hard.
That's
we
right.
love you for everything, whether you're six pack or you're not, whether you are hitting it right or you're not, you're giving that support because you love them. What?
I ain't stand for no not hitting it right.
There you go.
I'm just saying.
But in the bed, whatever, your body, most women conform to what their partner because of the love.
The
Yeah,
love.
the love.
Yeah.
You know, we got to take our final break. We'll come back and get your opinions on that. But, and also coming back, even if that is said, if your partner says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, can it come back? We'll get your answers.
Rekindle.
Can it rekindle? Can it come back? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right here on Radio 1 AM 1000 Vantage Point. Ladies edition. A lot going on here, y'all behind the scenes. So we're looking at some things, but don't worry, we're about to give. We're gonna let Alicia give the men their topic for tomorrow in a few minutes, but we're gonna wrap up the conversation we've been having about tonight, which was your significant other tells you that they love you but are not in love with you. Is there a difference? So we've talked about so many facets all the way around, from why is it happening, why are they not in love with you, to getting counseling, to all over. But the question now is there a chance for it to come back?
Rekindle, huh?
Can you rekindle that love? Even if they said it, is there still hope in the door?
I mean, scenarios. It always scenarios. So it depends on the individuals if they want to make it work. Because sometimes you get frustrated and you say things. And like we said earlier, sometimes those words are just meant to be a push in that direction. It's kind of like letting them know, like, look, you're on your last leg. This is the last straw. So if you're gonna fix it, you need to fix it now. So I think there's always hope. But again, it just depends on the parties involved and what they truly want. Because like we said earlier, a lot of times, you're in these situations and you have that person talking to you, and you never really, that other individual never really foresees them walking away. So, and sometimes when that actually happens, I'm sorry, let's go to counseling, let's do everything that you asked me to do beforehand, and you just have to hope that for the individual that's fed up, that it's not too far gone to come back from. But there's always hope.
Okay.
I think people can rekindle even after falling out of love. I think the fundamental of people and who they are and the elements of who they are as people are there. And sometimes we might change as we get older in life, but our core personality still exists. And the same way that you took the time out to know that person to the point where you fell for them, yeah, there might be things that might have happened in life, but if you have the desire to want to stay connected on an intimate level like that, the door is there for you to rekindle. But it has to do with the desire of both parties to want that. You're not going to rekindle if only one person wants it. You're not going to rekindle if both of you have given up. You're not going to rekindle if people are not willing to do what needs to be done to get back to where you were. And you might never get back to that point. For some people, they get better. Going to the point where they fell out of love and had to learn that person all over again. And sometimes in life, people have arguments and fights, but we're so caught up in the fighting, we're not hearing what the person is saying. and we're not recognizing that we're missing the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when it gets to the point that it's become so broken, but you want to put it back together,
Mm-hmm.
it forces you to listen. It forces you to say, wait a minute, I had an argument with my dude over something that if I had just stepped back for a moment because I was so determined to be the winner of the fight, I didn't really hear what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes in those situations, it causes a breakdown in relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're always the one, whether you're the husband or the companion, the male, that's always feeling like I can never win an argument. I'm just going to throw my hands up like, yes, dear, yes, dear, whatever you say. But then on the inside, you're agreeing with them for peace sake, but your whole spirit is down because you're not really even believing the lie that's coming out of your mouth. All of these things contribute to people falling out of love. But I think a lot of times communication and that desire to want to rekindle is an opportunity to bring that love back.
Okay.
But both sides have to want it.
Both sides have to want it. All right, Angie Pooh.
So, if you are serious and you come to me and tell me that you're not in love with me anymore, it's not a test. It's not a knock, 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 wake up, because I'm getting there. If you actually tell me that you're not in love with me anymore, there is no rekindling. We done. Next.
Angie Pooh ain't just like, screw it.
Listen, I'm on the second half of my life.
Okay, you got a point there. You got a point
I think I played those games in my other half. Like, now this portion of my life, look, I'm somebody's grandmother. I ain't got time to be playing these games with you. If you love me today, if you don't love me today, we won't be. I'm sorry, I'm just not there. If you're not in love with me, go find something that you are in love with. That's just the way I feel. I'm sorry. Like I said, I am an empath. I love, love, love. I love you. But if you don't love me,
Move on.
deuces.
Step on. Okay. I think rekindling is possible, as you said, Lady Alicia, that it has to be both people wanting it. You know, sometimes that glass gets broken and it's shattered. But I believe in love regardless, and if it's going to work, it would probably have to be again with a serious third party that's not your friend or your mama or your cousin. So it has to be a third party that you are willing to also listen to. So it has to be everybody involved. So it's not just the two now. It has to be a third party to bring back in, because you're not, as you said, if you're yelling, you're not hearing.
Nobody's listening.
No.
So nobody's listening to what the other has to say. And then if the other person is so dominant to where they're like, well, this is how it's going to be, and you're looking like, well, wait a minute, you haven't even heard what I have to say. You've already decided what my life is going to be like with you. Then, you know, if it gets to that point, then there's no counselor that can help. There's nothing. Somebody's going to be heartbroken, and it just has to move on. So that's my thought on that. So it is 53 minutes after the hour.
I also want to toss in quickly. Sometimes it's difficult to get men to go to counseling, but sometimes they might be a little bit more receptive to a spiritual advisor.
Yes.
That's
So
what I said.
I think you also have to, if you have that companion that's resistant to going to a counselor or a therapist, you know, another option, sometimes go to the pastor, because
right.
sometimes they might feel more comfortable. Well, I've known my pastor. Oh, he might know me a little bit better. So I just wanted to put that out there as an option, so that, you know, even if there's the pushback for the counselor, sometimes look at your spiritual advisor also as an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard
I
a lot
agree.
of people that have done that and it's worked for them.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So real quickly, it's 8:54. If that came on the table and that was said to you, would you say, let's get counseling?
If what came under?
If your significant other said to you, "I love you,"
Child.
but I'm
My husband ain't never gonna say, he ain't going nowhere, so I don't know. I'm just playing.
you ain't never.
My
But,
hubby,
if he, but just as
I'm
a
just
scenario, if he did say that, would you be the one to say, "Let's get counseling"?
I don't have a problem with counseling. I
Mhm.
am an advocate for mental wellness and mental health. And being in a relationship that's disrupting your sanctity and peace has to do with mental wellness.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I will always be that person to say, let's go see somebody and let that third party come and assist. And like I said, if that doesn't work, you know, let's go to a spiritual advisor. I will always be that person to have that conversation.
Okay.
So I don't shy away from that if that's what's necessary to have that conversation about.
Okay. And who you want to add to it?
I totally no. If he come and he say he wants to get our religious pastor involved, I'm for that. I'm for it. Like I'm really for that. I'm not really into going to counseling and you done already told me you ain't in love with me. I'm not spending no $150 so you can sit here and tell her that you told me you ain't in love with me. I'm sorry, I'm about to go on about 10 more minutes, so just go ahead.
All right, Lady D, what are your thoughts on that?
It depends on the circumstances.
Mhm.
So
I knew that was coming.
it depends. It depends on how that comes out. Like,
Mhm.
because again, I love you, but I'm not in love with you can come across in many different ways. If depending on how the situation has been going, where we're at that point in the relationship, and that's said to me, and I already know, like, look, this dude is just really not into you. Again, I'm not gonna waste my money going to counseling.
Mhm.
If this is somebody that I know we have a strong connection, I know this, you know, there should be hope, and I know this person truly cares for me, but maybe they're struggling with something.
Mhm.
Yes, I'd be willing to go to counseling.
Okay, all right. Thank you, ladies. It is 3 minutes to the hour. It has been a great conversation. Lady Alicia, do you have a topic for the brothers tomorrow
Yes.
to discuss? What are they talking about tomorrow?
Well, the topic that I selected, it's gonna be called gold diggers. Is it a
Mhm.
personal preference or just greed?
Oh,
Gold diggers, is it a personal preference or just greed or gigolos?
It's the same thing. A gold digger and a gigolo, they're the same people. I guess some people.
Wait,
call
one
them
male, one female.
one male and one female.
That's
One
right.
male, one female.
But-
Gold diggers, is it a personal preference or just greed? Okay, that's a topic for
Okay.
the brothers tomorrow. And yeah,
hey.
that's pretty much it.
It ain't tricking if you got it.
We appreciate you all hanging out with us as usual. And the love is always there. We will see you on Friday, if God willing, and the gut don't rise. That's it.
The gut, yeah.
Good don't rise.
All right. Thank you to our special guest, Miss Alicia. This evening we can get in here on Friday to hang out with us. Lady D, get it out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here Friday.